All right. She's questioning her faith, I guess. No. Somebody said the pretty boy's a bastard. Oh, she had just found her Caracas. Her
Caress.
Caress, sure.
Caress.
Caracas.
Her Caracas.
Caracas.
She just found the Kraken. For the end of time, it's the final countdown. You can tell we know that song. I only know it from the commercial.
I thought it was only on commercials.
It never existed before the commercial. It was just an 80 bands that coalesced into the 2000s for just that one microwave commercial. I mean, if I was going to try and do an 80s rock band commercial in the 2000s, 2010s, 2020s, I think it would be easier just to make up a new one than it would be to get rights and licenses. And
yeah.
They're just flexing, man. They're just flexing.
There's a lot of music from that era that I always try to envision myself like, where does this song fit in? Like, what would I be doing? There are a lot of songs that I'm like, there is literally nothing in this era that this song fits. Like that had to be a thing in the 80s, because part of it is that the attire is completely wrong too. Like, I'm thinking kind of tight acid wash jeans, a tank top, kind of a mullet, your hands a little bit dirty because you had to get your Mustang started and that carburetor is a piece of shit.
Right. I would think a construction job might be a good place for those kind of things.
Yeah.
Because then you can like have the dirty tank top and like, I'm thinking at this point the end of what's it called? Office Space.
Never seen it.
You've never, wait, what?
What?
You've never seen Office Space?
Blasphemer.
No.
You are a blasphemer. Welcome to Dog Eared Discourse, a nerdy little double date where we talk about the book we're reading and where we left off. Every month we're pulling a new and exciting book from our shelf. We've broken them down so you can buddy read with us or just hang out while we discuss, predict, and nerd out. If you want to read along, right now we're reading Among Others by Joe Walton. We're on the last half. Juan will be giving us a quick recap of where we left off.
All right, so the first half of the book, we are introduced to Mori. She's a young lady from Wales, and she's shipped off to live with her pops that she has never met before. During the course, you find out that she has a broken leg from a car accident where her twin sister died. So she spends most of her free time reading because from this accident, she has difficulty moving around. Little interesting tidbit, she can see fairies. And the reason that she got into this accident to begin with was because of these fairies trying to interfere with her supposedly evil mother's plans that she believes her mother is a witch. So while at her father's, her father lives with his sisters who control the estate, and they decided that they are going to ship her to a boarding school where she spends most of her time, and she has a little bit of trouble fitting in, mostly because she told everyone that her mother is a witch. And I believe she phrases it that it's better to be feared than to be loved. Something along that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So that was Juan, and we're going to go into our 60-second synopsis. So, Danny, can you please give us a 60-second recap of the half of the book that we just read?
All right. I'm ready.
Kelly, are you ready with the timer?
I am ready with the timer. Ready?
Yep.
3, 2, 1, go.
Okay. Mori decides to make a pact with herself that she's no longer going to do magic unless it's to interfere with harm done to her. She goes and visits her family, and the aunts want to gift her some earrings, and she feels that there's magic in them, and that if she got her ears pierced, that it would take away her ability to see the fairies. So she throws a huge tantrum and a huge fit. So the aunts leave her alone for that. She visits some other family in this book.
30 seconds.
She goes back to school. She goes to the book club. And she gets up close and personal with one of the book club members, Wim. And just generally has really great relationships with everyone around her. And then when she goes back to the fairies and home and sees her ghost sister, and they all try to like push her into being a
10
fairy
seconds.
with them, she decides that she doesn't want to, that life is worth living with friends and a boyfriend maybe. And so then she
3,
faces off her
2,
mother.
1.
and walks away.
Bing, 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 bing.
Good job. Good job.
That was right on the money.
Yeah.
I'm getting better, I think.
That was great.
That was great, Danny. All right, so quick introduction. My name's Chris, and giving the quick recap synopsis was Juan. Then the 60-second recap was Danny, and on timer was Kelly.
That was me. Welcome to our podcast. Now you're caught up.
Or are they?
I hope so. Okay, so to pair with this book, we made a really delicious cocktail called
Mistakes were made.
Mistakes Were Made. During this half of the book, all of these kids, they're 15 years old, so obviously they went and had their own little high school party. But they explain it as kind of like jungle juice or sangria, so we tried to make an elevated version of that. They specifically said that there was fruit cocktail in this beverage, so that was important to include, as well as wine and grape juice and vodka. So, Chris, tell us how you made this, because you are the mastermind behind all of these beverages.
All right, so I saw the ingredient list and I cringed a little bit inside, because that's kind of what you do with these kind of drinks, is you die a little bit and then you make them anyway.
He died a little bit, but then he did the little...
Maybe I can make this work.
Doing his little hands together, like from The Simpsons.
Yeah, this is a challenge for a mad scientist.
Yeah. And so we had to get all, like, the fruit cocktail. I wanted to see what the juice from that would taste like. I wanted to see what the grape juice would taste like. We tried to get an unsweetened grape juice, and that was, I think, key. So we got a white grape juice that was unsweetened. You know, vodka, just not low bottom shelf vodka, but okay vodka. And then the wine had a nice tree on it, and that was important, because I feel like when you're mixing wine into a beverage, it just needs to be red. So this one was a tree.
It needs to be well read.
No.
We bought it for the label because it has this tree. This is
Dreaming Tree.
This is Dreaming Tree Cab Sauv 2020, and the label has like this tree that reminded me of an elm tree, which is why we chose it. And because the elm trees are kind of a big trend in this book that we're reading, it has like all of these little shiny leaves on it, like it's gold foiled. So it was kind of magical.
So we took 2 ounces of the juice from the fruit cocktail. It kind of balanced out the flavor. It's not as sweet as you would think. And then the grape juice, put about an ounce of that in there. And then I needed to get some kind of rounded flavor in there. So I put ½ ounce of lime juice, stirred over ice.
That's a good idea.
Oh, wait, I added the vodka first. And then I stirred over ice, 1 ounce of vodka, poured that into a glass, floated some wine on top, and then did a little skewer with all the little fruit cocktail pieces, which is like the ugliest garnish you could possibly imagine.
Brings me back though,
It
man.
sounds great on paper until you see it.
Yeah. And it like separates and you get this weird like cloudy ness at the bottom, and then it just goes up to red. And I don't know, I like stirring it all together, and it doesn't taste horrible. It is
no, I think it's pretty good. It's a good summertime drink. Do you not
it
like
is
the
really
look
good.
of this? I think it's kind of pretty.
I think it's super pretty. A nice way of putting it separates is it's a layered drink.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
It reminds me of a foundry. It reminds me of melted steel.
Ooh.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
the flag on top and stuff.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
like one of the biggest flavors that I pick out is the pear that's in the fruit cocktail juice, because I grew up eating that shit all the time.
Me too.
And the cherries were the best. And like for some reason, the 2 cans that we had, there was like 2.
There was like 3 cherries. Between 2 cans of fruit cocktail, there was
Yeah.
like 3 total cherries.
Which is wild, because they're holding out on us now.
The pear is the one that has the most firmness to it.
Yeah, it's got a little grittiness to it.
Yeah. So anyway, I put a little skewer of that in the drink, and then you can stir it up, or you can just drink it, and then hopefully the little fruits will absorb some of the alcohol, so you can just chomp on that.
So now we are all at this high school party with Mori, not fitting in with everyone around her.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Everyone,
Cheers.
to making mistakes.
So I had written down our predictions from the first half of the book on what the last half would be in store. So it looks like, Chris, you thought that we find out what the main event was that crippled Mor and lost the daughter.
Found that out. Yep, check.
And the mom is evil. Well, that's just saying an understatement. Magic is real. Fairies are real. She questions it and doesn't get a happy ending.
Well, I got everything except the last one. During the first half of the book, I really was questioning whether she was just insane.
Yeah.
Right? Whether she's just a nutter. And, she has all these ideas about what magic is, but magic is plausibly denied. So
like you thought magic would be her way of kind of coping with what
coping
happened
with
to her.
trauma.
mechanism.
Yeah.
Right? So that's where I wanted to call out, that's why I thought I had to state magic is real and fairies are real. And then she doesn't question it. I thought that she was going to start questioning it in her mind whether they were real or not. Didn't happen. And then she doesn't get a happy ending, and she did get a happy ending, and that's sad.
All right.
This would have been a great book if it was a tragedy.
I mean, her life is pretty tragic up to this point.
And Juan, your prediction.
So Juan said that her sister's death did not stop the mom completely, and in order for her to accomplish her mission, that would be the end of her seeing fairies. She stops seeing her mom and leaves her childhood behind. I guess the fairies.
You also got that wrong.
Yep.
Yeah, and I mean, I was kind of, I guess, maybe playing off the idea of this state of arrested development. The book starts out with her and the sister, her twin sister, their belief in fairies and them being at a foundry or something like that. So I figured that this may just be a carryover from that time. She's coping with the death of her sister by carrying over all these childhood beliefs. And she's, I think, 15 going into 16. So that's kind of a little bit late, but it seems like the time where you still vividly remember your childhood, and you would have probably dropped most of your childhood beliefs. In her case, she's, in my prediction, I was saying that she would probably just carry these over until she found a time to cope with the death of her sister by the demise of her mother.
Well, you were wrong. And Kelly,
Kelly said that Mor would stop relying on books so much, and that
that was so wrong.
Very wrong.
She was going to realize that she has more support than she realizes.
That was right.
That was right. Don't think we will find the resolution about fairies or not. So I think you're on the fence about that last time.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that we really found a resolution, to be honest, but it could be argued that we did.
We will get into that.
We'll get into that. Danny, you thought it was going to be a blend. Your mom was either going to get stopped or put into a mental institution. Mori is going to graduate and become a writer, and when mom is put away, she'll stop seeing fairies.
Yeah, so after the very first chapter of this book, it says, this isn't a nice story and it isn't an easy story. And so I was already prepared that this was going to have a tragic ending. So I wanted to believe that the main character was going to just put the middle finger to everyone around her and just focus on herself. Mm-hmm. And maybe the tragic ending would be that, I don't know, the mom would die or something like that. And
yeah, I was really rooting for a bad ending as well. So
just right. It wasn't that I was rooting. I was prepared for one. And then when it wasn't that, I was really confused.
Yeah.
Just write the fan fiction. Make it end.
Oh my gosh.
Or
Dog Your
continue the
Discourse
story.
fanfiction.net.
Oh man. So we left off, and she was she got her cuirass that she wanted, which was a group of people that's her calling, right? So she got her group, her little book club, sci-fi book club. Yep. And she is she's hanging out and doing her thing, and she realizes that magic, selfishly used, she doesn't agree with, and so she swears off of magic. What did you guys think of that line of thought that she had, where I felt it was more like a spiral of her emotions of logically saying I made all this happen, and then it was giant chains of events that went from one to the next, and I caused like basically did the country even exist before I wished for this? Or it seemed weird to me that she was trying to
like rationalize those things based off of her magic.
Yeah, she was like
she was trying to rationalize,
cause.
and she was punishing herself at the same time. It was like,
because she did not believe that people would view her favorably. She did not believe that people would actually want to be her friend. It took magic in order for people to actually like her.
Yeah, she didn't want to manipulate like a natural event through magic. So to your point of, she wanted to make sure that this was in fact true, that people liked her, and it wasn't just her using magic to manipulate somebody's opinion. The other thing too, Chris, I agree with you that this is definitely like a spiraling, like catastrophizing, her saying basically that magic has unintended consequences. I kind of like that idea that you could use something and, potentially I would imagine that she's not like moving mountains with her magic, but that any little thing that she would manipulate would change or alter like the natural course of an event.
Well, when she spiraled big on this one. Like she was like, did this person even work at a library before I asked for the cuirass? Because now she would have needed to work at the library so in order to be able to drive me to the library. And, was the librarian who recommended it, was he even working at a library before then? And she just went on this big like tangent, and it went and spiraled out and out and out. And I felt it was very narcissistic.
Really quick, just in case our listeners might not have read the book, can you just really quickly go over how magic works,
yes,
so they understand where the spiraling might be coming from?
Okay, sorry. So magic, when you use it, it is plausibly deniable. So basically, what it means is, when you cast a spell on something, it will have a chain of events that you can track in reality that will lead up to your desired outcome for that spell. For instance, say you're now, she never did anything this grandiose, but say you're at a gas station and you want to blow up the gas station. You want to do this using a fireball spell,
like one does.
As people,
Zoolander,
you're very mad
with these gas prices.
Orange mocha frappuccinos.
Okay, so you're upset about the gas prices and the attendant who was washing your windows or checking your oil like you do back in this 1979. You want to blow up the gas station, so you cast a fireball. Well, in order for that to happen, what happened was, way back this morning, Jane over there across the street, she had a very bad morning, and she's speeding around, and she just loses control of her car and slams into the gas station and explodes into a fireball. Well, I mean, all those events happen. You just happen to cast fireball at the same time. So it's plausibly deniable that you didn't actually do anything. So the way that she spirals in this book is she wished for this cuirass. She wished for this, to find her people, because she really doesn't belong at the school. She just wants friends. And the next day, she gets invited to this book club. Well, she starts saying the only reason they like me is because of magic. The only reason they're there is because of magic. Is the only reason that the book club exists because of magic? Does the library even exist because I cast a spell? And she just, I felt like it was a spiral of, I don't know, almost narcissistic control.
Like self-importance.
Yeah.
That actually, that was one of the things that when I was talking about how she still has these remnants of childhood that by this age, it almost seems like she should have dropped. That specific thing really... What? No,
does anyone drop anything from their childhood?
No, you just pile other stuff on top of it and pretend like it isn't.
You're dusting and you just swipe it under the rug, but it's still there.
No, you take your problems and put a mustache on it and say, "Oh no, that's not that's not a problem now. Now it's a feature."
I feel like getting your way to adulthood is kind of like standing in quicksand and then just constantly putting blocks underneath you, and you're just pushing them deeper into the quicksand, and you're not actually going anywhere. It's just that there's just a lot more baggage underneath you.
Yeah, to me, it's just like masking all the bullshit that you carried on from childhood, but you just like quickly drop a cute little mask. So it's like, oh, self-doubt? No. Put a little mask on it. You're like, nope. It is confidence now.
It's confidence.
I actually took Wim's side on this, where he was like sitting with her and was kind of telling her that I was actually kind of impressed with how he actually was taking the logical approach of this. And he had said that he believed that it wasn't that she created these people, their jobs, this book club, this library. Like, I mean, it could go on infinity. That's how she was thinking it, spiraling. But he felt that it just brought her the awareness of the book club. It just brought her to their doorstep and, like put her in contact with the person who was going to invite her. And I kind of agree with that.
Yeah, that's how I kind of agreed too, because I didn't see it as narcissistic at all. I saw it as a really, really lonely kid. Couldn't believe that after all these years, somebody wanted to be her friend. And I don't know. I feel like all of us have had those moments where it's like, I don't know if I really belong here. They're only letting me hang out because they told me I could come over. And now that I'm here, they kind of wish I would leave. You've had those moments, I'm sure. And I think that she's just having that in a big way. And she's kind of just hanging out with me because I wished for it magically. And I'm kind of forcing them to hang out with me in a way. So I'm kind of doing them a disservice by even being here. I don't know. I've spiraled like that myself.
I thought that if it ended there, if it was like I cast a spell on them and they only like me because I cast a spell, if it ended there, I would believe you. Or I would take your side on this. But I feel like when she started spiraling of like she's the cause of them existing in the first place because she cast a spell, like once she got to that point where she started, it wasn't that they liked her, which is like taking over their agency. It was taking over their existence. Like the existence of the book club, the existence
So that's what you believe? Is that she created all that?
No, that's
Okay.
what she believed. And that's why she's a narcissist.
What's your take on it?
My take on it is that I take the side that it's Occam's razor. What is the easiest thing to manipulate? What's the least amount of manipulation that will need to happen to cause the spell to coalesce?
Okay.
So she was aware of the library. She just wasn't aware that there was also a book club nearby, or that the librarian was part of a book club, right? So it was just a hint to the librarian, like in his mind of, hey, go talk to this girl who's always checking out all these damn books. Tell her that there's a book club there.
Yeah.
And that's all it took, right? So
do you believe the magic? Because I think there's a little bit of magic in there, but I also think it was also almost a coincidence. But I think it took the magic, just like you said, like a little bit of a hint. But I didn't know there was like an official term for that.
Well, Occam's razor is like the simplest solution is the best.
Okay.
It's usually the most likely.
Is the most likely. So the simplest solution to the problem of her not having friends is, get her to join the book club that exists. And how do we do that? We just plant the idea in this dude's brain. Everything already exists. You're just manipulating thought. That's the easiest thing to manipulate on somebody. So you just do that, and now she's got a book club.
I'm kind of splitting the middle between what you and Kelly were talking about. To rise to the level of narcissism, I feel like she wouldn't have that level of awareness about the situation, because she also has this like mechanism of magic that she's adding to the equation. So I guess to me, it's kind of like a little kid that is standing in front of the TV because he doesn't realize that nobody else can see the TV. So in their world, like everything revolves around what it is that they're doing. Where at some point you realize like, oh, it's everything's interconnected. And sometimes you intersect at the right moment with the right people at the right time. And in and of itself is miraculous. You could have been late for something and not had that opportunity. But I think in her place, she doesn't see that. In her place, she's like, oh, it was the magic. And now she's doubting. Now she's questioning all of these things. Like, oh, did I cause that? And how did I affect these people? Did they even want to be here? Did they give me their consent for me to use magic on them?
Yeah, so it's like luck is the intersection of opportunity and preparedness, right? And so all it did was present an opportunity. She's prepared.
Right, where she may have once she's a little bit more mature, realize like, oh, you reap what you sow. I'm telling people that I'm interested in this thing, and of course somebody's gonna be like, well, if you're interested in that thing, perhaps the algorithm would suggest this.
Like this podcast.
Yeah.
Like this podcast.
So this book is written in journal entries, and Mor, the main character, writes them backwards so people cannot read her handwriting. First off, I have another thing to say. But first off, have you guys ever done that? Have you guys ever written in a journal and wrote backwards in it, or
Disappearing ink? Remember the magic ink you could play?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I used to play around with that stuff. I would try writing with my left hand, but I just wanted to try and get good at writing with my left hand, and I found out that I couldn't. I'm very bad at that.
I was never big on journals, but I did go through a brief witchcraft stint. What? And I
wow, we got the master here. I'm sure this whole book you were just like, she's doing it wrong. It should have been her left hand. It should have been upside down, not backwards, bitch.
I could have spoken to those fairies, no problem. But I would write like a mirror, but I was not very good at it. Half my letters were right way around, and then I'd have to like scribble them out and like do them wrong way around. But I would also do it with my other hand because logically you're writing backwards, so switch hands. But no, I would never like did journals like that, but I was very interested in mirror writing for a while.
That is interesting. I was into journals, but I had horrible handwriting with my dominant hand. So, I mean, no one could read it anyways. But I have this thing where I'm like nervous, I guess. I don't know. And like, if I ever looked back on my journals, all of them are in the trash. All of them. There is not one single journal entry. And I was a journal girl. Okay. I had a lot of feelings and I had to write them all down. And I needed to look back and reflect on those feelings at a young age. And I still to this day, I don't like write like paragraphs, but you guys seen my little chicken scratch. Like I write a lot and they do not exist after like the year. Like I throw that shit away. It's too embarrassing.
The yearly bonfire.
Yeah. I'm like, wow.
Well, there goes all my thoughts.
Yeah, because whenever I look back on them, I'm like, it's so cringy.
Oh yeah.
Like, God damn it, what was I complaining about that for? So yeah, I'm not really I'm not like her. I'm not like I don't have any like prized possession journals, obviously, because they're only garbage.
Oh yeah, I did the whole like live journal thing for a minute, and that lasted about 2 episodes.
What do you live journal?
Yeah,
What's
it was
that?
like pre-Tumblr.
I had a Tumblr. I was a Tumblr girl.
I had a Tumblr for a hot minute, but that was all just for pictures. That was, whatever. Yeah, no, I can't consistently do anything. So like writing every single. Oh come on, who's got the time?
Come on.
I did do for like we were talking about handwriting. I did try for a little bit to see how small I could make my handwriting.
Really?
Yeah, and I got to the point where I was writing within the blue lines on my line paper.
Whoa.
And I could read it. Like it was legible.
Do you have any evidence of this, or could you do it so we could post it for the podcast on the Instagram? Because that would be cool to see. Because I've never heard of that before.
I have to get because it was back when I was in like elementary school, and they have kind of thicker blue lines. But yeah I can give it a shot.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I kept the journal.
Oh, what did you write in your journal?
You're not supposed to ask that.
Yeah.
Do you?
First of all, that's why I don't keep a journal
And that's
anymore.
why she wrote backwards.
Did you write backwards?
No. I didn't have that
Was
problem.
there a lock on
If
it?
somebody-
Some of mine had locks on it.
Did you have a lock on your journal?
No.
Was it a furry journal?
Was it shaped like a heart?
With the fluffies?
Yeah. Did it have a mirror on the inside?
No, now that I think about it, this is as guy of a journal as you can get. I literally I had loose paper, so I'm like, cool. I'll put it in a pocket
rings?
folder because I was like, I have a folder, I have paper. I have a journal.
The Bachelor of Journals.
Did the
Yeah.
Not
folder
even a
have
journal.
like? Did the folder have like one of those sports guys on the front and all that?
No,
Like, oh.
nope. It was just a standard like. It's the color where it, like the red is not really red and the yellow's not yellow and the green is definitely not a green. Like yeah, and I kept the journal for about 4 days and then I was like, I would never want to reread this.
See?
So
Birds of a feather. I
Yeah.
also was like, my longest journal was like 5 pages
Yeah,
long.
your journal is just there to get the thoughts out of your head, and then you can burn them and then get rid of the thoughts completely.
yeah, I found that it was just a collection of thoughts that I didn't want to revisit. So I'm like, well, what really does a 4th grader have to keep track of?
At the end of this year, we should burn all of our book notes.
Oh, I don't even keep the.
Oh, I have physical book notes.
I delete those too, man. Any of my thoughts, I'm like, nope. That was then. This is now, baby.
Okay, so she gets it pretty friendly with one of the people in her cuirass named Wim,
Yeah.
W-I-M. She actually like immediately like info dumps on him of like, I can see fairies and magic is real. And he's like, prove it. Then she like gives him the stone that she carries around in her pocket.
For
And
protection.
he can start to see them, and then gives him the stick, and then he sees the fairy. And that's the moment when I realized the magic's real in the book. That's when I was convinced.
That's the moment I realized that this guy would do anything to get laid. Like, yeah. Yep. Oh, yep. I see him. Oh, it's a dragon, too. You see the... Oh. I was confused.
I mean, fair enough. 15-year-old kid. Yeah, fair. All right. But it's like she describes this one fairy coming up to him, right? And then when he has a stake, all of a sudden he like jumps back and he is directing his attention to where she believes the fairies to be. So it is more convincing than just dude wants to get laid, dude's got to access pies, like he sees fairies. He seemed genuinely like, I think I see them.
Yeah, and
so-
I'd love the idea there, actually, in just all magic systems of this, like, growing out of belief in magic, and if you lose the belief, then it's gone. Like, her ability to see them, he's like, if you don't believe, then you're not going to be able to see them. So him being just like, okay, well, show me. Like, not judgmental, because most people would have been like, oh, well, then it's time for me to go.
I was really surprised with his character because I had this this sense of doom on my shoulders. Like every time I heard his name and all of these like horrible things people were saying about him. And then once they just like had a conversation about what the rumors were and what was going on. And they have so many similar interests. They've actually read the same books and they remembered what they read from those books. They could talk about it. And he was so open to magic and stuff. And the fact that he apparently is beautiful, and not just that she views him as gorgeous and handsome, but also the fairies do. And I just thought like, wow, this is like your Prince Charming in the books. Like he has it all, the looks, the smarts, like
The bike.
like he
But not the reputation.
not the reputation. No,
He's got that small town reputation where one little shady thing happened. Nobody fully understands what really happened, but they've heard the rumors, so they're kind of condemning him a little bit. And it's such a small town that everybody knows everything about everybody. But Moore didn't really care that much about all that because she's kind of more into her books anyways and her magic.
Yeah.
So when he is talking to her about it and explaining what actually happened, she's like, okay, well, I don't really care about that. What do you think about this book? And he's like, what? You're not going to judge me for this? And I think that might have played into why he was so open to seeing the fairies with her, because she was so non-judgmental about his big, horrible thing that she kind of gave him permission to
Kind of like suspend disbelief for a bit, or like enter the situation with just a completely open mind.
Yeah.
Because I guess, because you're right, if he can see that she is very...
Well, like she accepted what he said as fact on its face value.
Yeah.
And then she stated something, right? Like magic is real.
Yeah.
Elves exist. Like I accept that what you say was right. Like she was a liar. Like the person that was spreading the rumors about you was saying that she was pregnant when she wasn't really. Okay, sure. Let's talk about books. So she just accepted it. And he's like, oh, okay. And then she's like, oh, yeah, and magic is real. Like, my mom's a witch. Magic's real. I see fairies. He's like, oh, okay. Well, I'm just going to accept that because you accepted it for me. You accepted
like the one person in my town. But then again, he wasn't sharing it. But yeah, I felt, that's a good point.
It's like she accepted his truth at face value. So he might have felt like given permission, like you were saying, to accept her truth at face value.
And she set the tone for the conversation. Like, we're just believing in each other right now. That's it. This is how this is going. He's like, all right, I'm in.
All right,
except for this coffee is terrible and I can't believe you took me here.
And also,
and he's like, we're not talking about this.
Also,
this coffee is excellent.
They do, during this conversation, talk about the Thomas Covenant books. And I do not like that book series. That is a book series that is the only one that I've thrown away.
Wow.
Like I will never recommend that book series to anyone, and I believe that I just feel very strongly about this one. Basically it's a leper who goes to a magical world, and he's basically healed completely because of the ring that he's wearing, or for whatever reason he's magically healed. And the first thing he does when given the opportunity is rape a girl.
Oh.
Yeah, not great. I would not recommend that book. Never punished for it, as far as I can tell in the book series, because I went about a book and a half into the trilogy, maybe, and then just tossed it in the garbage. So
yeah, that's okay, because she, I kind of felt like she's read so many books, and she mentioned so many books. I was kind of excited when actually I read that there was one book that she has not read that I have read, and that is The Sword of Shinara. And she says, which I haven't read, but sounds like a total crap ripoff of Lord of the Rings. And I was like, yeah, but I enjoyed it.
Oh,
and
no.
Also, there's a series that we watched at least the first episode of, and I absolutely loved it. And it was great. I was recommending that show to like all my friends.
It was a show?
Shinara. Mm-hmm. So the book is from Terry Brooks, and he was going to be at C2E2 back in Chicago. And so I wanted to read some of his books and get them signed while he was there. So that's why I started reading the series. I read the Sword of Shinara, and then I read like the tree song, or I can't remember the next one. Something to do with a tree song. I enjoyed them. I didn't think that they were like the Lord of the Rings, because there's two main female characters, which there are no main female characters in the Lord of the Rings. And one of them, the name eludes me now, but she's like a daughter of this traveling leader of a traveling gypsy band, and then she gets with like the main guy who's basically essentially like Rand from the Wheel of Time, which is not Lord of the Rings. And she was so interesting and so cool, and she was like my favorite character. And she in the show too, the actress does a really great job. I don't know, I can't think of the name right now, but anyways, so yeah, when I was like, oh, the one book I've read that she hasn't, she says that she wouldn't read it. She was like, oh, I've heard of it, but I'm not going to read that because it sounds like a total crap ripoff of Lord of the Rings. And I'm like, no.
I haven't read Sword of Shinara, but I have read his Magic Kingdom for Sale Sold series, and I really like that one.
She's hating on something she doesn't even know.
Yeah. So one thing I did want to discuss was when Sam came to visit, so she was in the hospital for a little bit under traction, and the doctors recommended she had her leg up and stuff like that. And so she was basically stuck in bed for a week. And she was miserable afterwards. She thinks it made it worse and all that. And then later, when she's at home going to convalesce or whatever, Sam comes to visit and suggests, she calls Sam and Sam comes to visit. And he suggests that she go to acupuncture.
Sam is her paternal grandfather.
Correct. Sorry, I forgot to mention that.
She only met Sam because she ran away to her father, and her father introduced him.
And Sam loves books.
Yeah.
And so they get along really well. Sam suggests going to acupuncture. Her dad's sisters, her aunts, don't want her to do it. So obviously she wants to do it.
And plus she trusts Sam, and she really likes him.
Yeah.
And she does not trust her aunts.
No.
And she goes to it, and she's like, this is a form of magic. And she latches on to how it's magic. It's going to work. It's going to do all these things. And then after the acupuncture, she's like, the first needle went in and I lost all the pain. And the first thing I thought to myself when I read that was, this is like the magic of the placebo effect.
Yeah.
And it's like how our bodies can do amazing healing things. Even if we know we're taking a placebo, we'll heal ourselves. It's weird. So she just assumed this is magic, and then she healed herself and stopped like complaining about how much her leg hurt. What do you guys think about the magic of the acupuncture?
Have any of you guys ever gotten acupuncture? Because I haven't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No, because I agree with the author. I think it seems a lot like magic, and I'm way too skeptical to, as soon as I see something, I'm like, man, that was awesome. But also, what's the gimmick?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I was trying to get rid of my headaches for a while. When
Yeah.
I was in, just after college, I had really bad headaches. And I was trying anything I could other than drugs to do it. I didn't want to, like, I don't know, taking a pill, taking a pill daily didn't really set well with me. So I was trying, like, okay, I'm going to start working out. And then I started like running and doing all this other stuff, and nothing was really working. So I tried acupuncture, and yeah, I got to lay down on a table and relax for a little bit. I'm not sure if it actually did anything, but it was kind of neat, like having the little needles stick out of you.
Yeah. No, I am a huge believer in the placebo effect. I think that it is just as good. If it can treat a condition, then it is just as good as the medicine that they prescribe for it, because there is a lot of, I think a lot of lost opportunity in that. Like you said, there's been studies of people that will heal, that will fare better throughout injury or whatever, just because they had contact with people. Like just the fact that people would come and visit them, or that somebody would hold them, they would fare better, and their outcomes were better than people that didn't. Or I think there's a lot there that, like you said, that the body's able to, maybe it's just like positive thinking or whatever the case is.
There's
Obviously, don't do this if you are right now in need of immediate medical attention. Please seek immediate medical attention. Don't. The placebo effect is not gonna fix a bone protruding through your skin.
Right.
And if you're on long-term treatment, please continue the long-term treatment.
Yeah.
We are not medical experts. Please do not trust us.
Disclaimer.
We are drinking right now, and also we read books and drink for this podcast. So don't trust us on any of this. We're just talking about magic.
Yeah, these are good things to add to a regimen that's been prescribed by a professional, not
Positive thinking, like well-being, like
also just like having people give the attention that you need. So like, for instance, you needed to seek some sort of professional attention for your headaches. I've been in a car accident. A few of us have been in a car accident where I've had to do like physical therapy and stuff. And like, I think the best thing that I needed was just to have somebody like acknowledge what happened, acknowledge that my legs were not the same length anymore. And that we needed to do something about it. And like, one of the things that I felt was the thing that, like, I don't know if it worked, but it was something that I most enjoyed in like the physical therapy was when I laid down and did like the electroshock things on my back. And then when I talked to my physical therapist friend, he's like, you know, that I'm not saying it doesn't do anything, but he was like, what really does it is your actual physical health improving, like your muscle, you're building muscles, and you're able. And I was like, yeah, I don't care about that. I don't care about all that. But the cool thing was to just be able to relax and like feel like the electroshocks are like doing something, and that might be similar to the acupuncture. It's like, well, you have to sit still. Somebody's giving you attention for an hour. And they're actually like setting up all this like gadget stuff on you, and you feel something weird and new that you've never felt before. So I felt like it helped, but also there was a lot of stuff going into that appointment that I've never had done in normal life.
With the book, she describes the doctor who put her into traction as like not caring and barely saying one or two words. And then she describes the visit with the doctor who's like the doctor, quote unquote, the acupuncturist who is there as like sitting down and paying attention to her.
And like actually agreed with her that maybe that wasn't even the right form of action for her leg. That was so wild. I feel so bad for her that like the doctor didn't even like check out her leg. Like, this is like her mobility.
He's just like, oh, you're going into traction
for a week. And he just probably did. Yeah, she felt like he didn't even know what he was doing, or didn't even look at it. Like, he only cared about the x-rays and not her. And for her, like, this is her whole life that has been pretty much ruined because of this injury. And now it could potentially have been made worse.
So she and Wim, like, kind of get it off. And she explains the backstory of her leg and all this other stuff. Wim is floating the idea of having to kill her mom. More's not really cool with that. And then she had to go to her own fairy people, and they were insisting she do blood magic. And she was not cool with it.
She was ready to do blood magic. She just wasn't ready to sacrifice her entire life.
That happened quickly. I was thinking it was one of those like cut your palm and touch something,
it turned into her stick turns into a giant sword, and they're like, no, put it into your chest.
Yeah, I thought it was like, prick your finger. Like my grandmas were diabetic, and I just remember them like pricking their finger and checking their glucose on their little meter. That's what I thought. I was like, oh, it's just a little like bloop.
Fairies in England told her to go see the fairies in Wales. So she goes, and she knows, like, I am prepared for whatever they're going to ask of me, not expecting them to ask the ultimate sacrifice. And so she goes and sees a large number of fairies, an unexpected, like, a army of fairies. In my mind, reading this, it was like when all of the like warriors in Lord of the Rings came over the mountain, and it was like, join us. And her main guy, whose name is
Glorfindel,
Goldfinger,
who has been her ally, who has been the one kind of like guiding her through this fairy journey, probably from the beginning, and is the only one that speaks to her in sentences.
He's the only hot one.
Yeah, and she's very attracted to him.
He's got a body.
Hell yeah. Very humanoid.
He is not the one where the dong is as big as he is.
No.
Okay.
And
I just
so,
want to check on that.
I mean, maybe.
It's not explained.
I forgot about that guy.
Use your imagination. So he comes up with Mor, followed by Mor the sister. Mor 2.0. Ghost Mor. And they all come up, and all the fairies are behind. And she's like, okay, I'm ready. I've got my little pocket knife. I'm ready to go. And they're like, no, it's time for you to join your sister and become one. And that's kind of when my mind went to what you were saying earlier, Danny, where you thought that they might be one person. Like they're not actually two different people. And like maybe a part of her died in the car accident because she became so disillusioned with her mom and her life and her family abandoning her, and just like a part of her died then. And this was the mental way of handling.
Yeah.
Oh, this is your time to join that part of you. And she refused, to her credit.
Does anyone else ever bring up the sister?
She brings it up, and she also brings up how they tormented her mother. And I actually do believe that some of the other characters in there do talk about, like, they talk about without talking about it.
Okay.
I don't believe, because also the pictures of the two girls together,
like,
there's her, but her face is burnt out of the image. So it's like it's like one of those, like maybe it's an unreliable narrator, because she takes the name of her sister. So, and she says it like way in the later half of the book. And I'm like,
and no one noticed.
No one noticed. I'm like, I'm kind of convinced that they might be the same person.
I think so too.
I didn't hear, and
I didn't think about it that way.
Yeah, so. My folly. I always assume that whoever's telling me the story is being upfront and honest with me.
Because he just started reading books, so he doesn't have the sense of unreliable narrator sense. So he's like, he always trusts the narrator.
He trusts the lines that are given to him to color in.
Yep.
Yes, and here's why.
And I will behave accordingly.
You're telling me a story in first person. Why are you lying to me?
Because they're lying to themselves.
I believed you in good faith.
They're lying to themselves.
You took advantage of my kindness.
I
was there for you.
Stay there for her. She's mentally ill and has to deal with this.
I saw one.
She needs you now.
There's a movie that you get a narrator that's over top of everything, and it's the main character as a narrator, and you're thinking, oh, because he's narrating it, he survives, and then you find out later that it's only because it's him actually narrating it in his own head in real time, so he doesn't know what's going on. So, and
guess that movie, listeners. Give it to us in the comments. If you're right, we'll pin it.
So I didn't see it as a parallel for, a single person feeling like they were divided, but I did very much see this as a struggling with thoughts of suicide. Because I mean, it's very clearly thoughts of suicide, but she does say in it that she would have been happy to a year ago, right?
Yeah.
If they had asked her a year ago, she would have done it, and then now she's not going to, and it's because of all the changes that happened. She's like, no, I want to keep going. This is not okay.
More so than that, I think it's her believing that she's stronger than the mother that she was been so afraid of this whole book. Mm-hmm. Now she truly believes that she's stronger and can take it. She has a supportive network of friends and family. She didn't think that she could rely on her family, but now she's realized that there are some members that she can rely on. And even if she couldn't, she has friends and partners and a cohort behind her, a caress, if you will, who has her back whatever happens to her, whether she's available or not. Because even when she kind of retreats into her books, they're there for her and they reach out to her and they just make sure she's okay at every turn.
They come to visit her in the hospital.
Exactly.
Yeah, and she's writing letters.
Mm-hmm.
Like she gets letters too.
So she has something to live for. It's not like she's starting to realize she's not alone. Mm-hmm. And what I really like about the way that this book is written is she never says that in so many words. A lot of the books that we've read on the podcast so far would have been pretty upfront, where it's like, they're asking me to kill myself, but for this reason, and this reason, I can't because I would be missed. She never says that. It's implied by everything we've read before that she now understands that. And I like that.
They definitely show it and they don't tell it.
Exactly. I like that a lot.
To finish the story of the book. So Mor goes over because the fairies tell her to go over to her homeland to like sacrifice herself. She decides not to do it, but she still has to do this face off with her mother. And before the mother shows up, she actually like puts her sister's ghost under the hill. And that's like the way that the soul passes on to the next realm or whatever happens to them. And so she does that when she decides that she's not going to join her. She's like, nope, I'm staying here, but you're leaving. You're not just going to be like ghosting around everywhere. And so then the mom shows up because she's probably pissed that now she has no conduits to do her magic, which were her daughters. And then she was like, you were the one that was just like me, and we could have ruled the world. And she was like, fuck you, no. And then she was like, you're not the boss of me no more. And then the mom like starts like and ripping out pages from Lord of the Rings and throwing them at Mor, and they turn into arrows and like, I don't know, spears and stuff like that at her. And she was like, I know books better than you, Mom. I know how to read better than you, Mom. And I know this story better than you. And she's like, I know exactly what these pages want to be. Not arrows. They want to go back to their roots. They want to be trees. And they all turn into trees. And then she's like, walks away all dramatically. And the mom is just like surrounded by trees now because she keeps ripping out all these pages. I was like, I wish there was a death scene there. I wish that a tree just came up from like, and just like engulfed the book and the pages, and she just became part of this tree now. Like it ripped the mom to shreds because there was this like tree growing out of her hands. You know, I wish that there was a death scene there. But it sounded like there wasn't. It sounded like the mom was just being hysterical and then trees started growing around her. So the magic in this book is that the mom can conjure shadows or like illusions of like creatures and stuff coming towards you. And to an extent where you can't understand what's real and what's not real around you. And so I think her sister... I don't exactly know what happened to her sister, like how she died, but I'm thinking they both got hit by a real car. Yep. And the sister died, but then she only got like her pelvis like shattered. Pushed, yeah. And then at the end of the book, when she does her face off with the mom's doing the Lord of the Rings pages, throwing those at her. And those are actually just like illusions of arrows. But I believe that when Mor actually does her magic, the pages are not illusions of trees. They actually are trees that like take root. But then her illusion is the characters that she remembers from all of her experiences reading science fiction and fantasy. So like dragons start to appear and like, I don't even know, Loch Ness Monster. Like I can't remember, I can't think of any right now. But like any of those weird monsters, those are the illusions. And those are like those are like what's attacking the mom or like going towards the mom, and then she's like walking away all dramatic, like end of a action movie or something. And then there's Wim, there's her dad, there's her grandpa, her dad's dad, Sam, and they're all just like waiting there, and they're like, "We thought you were in trouble," and she was like, "Nope, not anymore." And then they all like walk off together in the sunset, and it was great. But I expected it to be a bad ending. Like I thought it was going to be a tragic ending, so I was very confused. Even the mom survived, which I did not expect.
I mean, I don't know that I believe that the mom was even there. That whole scene.
Is her sister there? Is her mom there?
No,
is she there?
mean, that whole scene didn't make sense. The magic didn't work the way the magics worked the entire book. The mom came out of nowhere. We haven't actually met the mom. Like the whole thing didn't make any sense to me. I thought that. I don't know. I think somebody needs to explain it to me, because that came out of left field and did not go anywhere for me.
I feel the same. I was on board with a lot of this half of the book. I was keeping up and everything, but then I actually have a physical copy of this book. I'm doing a lot of these on e-reader because we don't need 2 copies of books. We can have as many copies as we want, but like I was getting towards the end, and I'm like, there's 10 pages left, like, and I was expecting like 50 pages left to be a good like climax and like showdown kind of things, and then there's like 7 pages left, and then there's like 5 pages left. I'm like, when's the battle?
Like, when do we
happen?
resolve the problem?
Because, when do we resolve the mom issue? And I don't know. I think this is when we should start talking about how we feel about the book.
Yeah.
When I share a similar experience with you, Chris. When I got closer and closer to the end, and then finally get to the last page, I probably skipped through a couple of those blank pages to see if there was. I was like, "Am I missing something?" But
yeah. It was the end of the book was a little bit flat to me. So okay, let's see how we all felt about this. Now on that happy note, so I was, for this half of the book, I thought it was okay. The pacing was a little bit weird. The the concepts were there, but I felt like the end had a stale finish for me. Mm-hmm. Danny, what do you think about this part of the book?
After reading the last half of the book, I really enjoyed the first half. I felt like there was so much more curiosity and suspense and things like growing, and then the last half was kind of boring, and it was like I think I might have enjoyed it more if I wasn't set up in a way where it was like, oh, this is a tragic ending, because it wasn't a tragic ending. And then nothing really ever happened, where usually I'm the opposite. Usually I like the second half of the book more than the first half, because it's like all the world building, and then the second half is like the action and like where they resolve all this shit. And it's like, this didn't really do anything. And then also now I'm just left with questions on her sanity. And I'm happy that she has a support system, but as a reader, I feel like I now need a support system to like, I don't understand what's going on.
We're here for you.
Thank you.
We got you.
Juan, what did you think?
What did I think? I didn't have as much of a problem with the entire. It was maybe like the final quarter of the book. I liked some of the the closure that you got, like from her dealing with the sister's ghost, and I felt like that kind of wrapped it up nicely. And I mean, I could have been fine with dealing it there, and maybe realizing that her mother wasn't as significant of the character in her life as she thought. But definitely had a little bit of an issue with like the just the very, very ending of her and her mom was like, her mom almost becomes insignificant at that point. You know, it's like she didn't wield the power that she thought she did. But yeah, I liked her, like I guess maybe like the character development of her, like just being a kid and trying to make friends and trying to like get some explanation. And even like there's like her awkward encounters with the boys in her age group were kind of like funny and awkward.
Oh yeah, definitely relatable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe not for you guys, but for maybe for us.
They would have been a little more awkward.
Kelly, what did you think about the last half of the book?
I was really excited about the first half because it just came on strong with like themes and things that meant other things, and here's the beauty on the outside is hiding the corruption and deadness inside. And like I was just like picking up like thing after thing after thing. And then we got to this half and it was a lot of her just doing stuff, and none of those themes popped back up until the very, 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 very end. And then there was a weird magic battle. I don't know. I liked the coming of agedness of it. I'm a fan of coming of age stories in general anyways. I liked the way the magic worked in general. I just think that it promised a lot and delivered half-heartedly on what it was going for. Kind of like it almost feels like the author started writing another book in the middle. The ending just didn't feel quite as well-bodied as I thought that it was going to be.
My thought on the ending is we don't have a lot of closure in our personal lives at the end of being a teenager. We just kind of go on to being an adult, and so that's fine. And I think that that's translated into this book very well of like, yeah, things don't necessarily end. Like, and they don't necessarily end as satisfactory as you'd want. So artistically, it's pretty good. But from a fantasy reader perspective, I wanted there to be something big at the end. I wanted there to be a pop. I wanted something there. I didn't want to feel like my teenage self again, where I'm just now going to the next thing that I'm doing.
You have to just live with how things are now, and they're not all that different.
Yeah, and the magic battle might or might not have been as impactful as you thought it was going to be.
I think that was the one point, for me at least, like the point of contention maybe, is that everything else is fine. And I agree with what you said. I think that was worded perfectly, that you don't have like a clear transition from like childhood to your teenage years to adulthood, and the things that you thought in your younger years that were going to be like showstoppers for you and you were not going to be able to get over it. And it's like, oh, well, you know, like there isn't a clear definition of when something begins and ends. It's just, you know, you have to find the reason or find like the positivity or find a reason to move forward. I just wanted some resolution on the magic.
Yeah.
I just wanted to know if this was, like you said, an epic magic battle would have been like, oh, this is, yes, all that other stuff like coming of age tale, but also the magic is very real. Or the other way around, the magic isn't real, and this was just like her coping mechanism for it. That part of it, I think I would have wanted.
I disagree with the magic battle because I don't think the magic would make sense for a battle, which I think is why I so much did not like the quote-unquote magic battle that she had with her mom. It didn't work. It wasn't consistent with the way the magic works in this story. So for all of a sudden to be flinging paper planes at each other, that's not how this magic works. It's not illusion magic. It's adjusting reality magic, which is not the same thing. It's adjusting the way that people are influenced to do things in very subtle ways. It's not turning pages into elm trees. So I felt like it didn't make sense. And for that reason, it undermined a lot of the rest of the story because that magic battle specifically did not make sense.
So it's like the magic system broke, but the main character accepted that this is how magic works, even though that's breaking from the rest of the magic system. It would be like in like A Face Like Glass. If we were to go back to that, it's like if all of a sudden they were like, oh yeah, and people can cast fireballs and stuff like that. When in actuality, it's all about like crafting magic. It's like, wait, what? How did that? When did that happen? Like,
Yeah.
Like I can craft all these cool things and I make all these artificer items and I'm really cool that way. But like, where did the person who can cast fireball come from? Like, it just doesn't make any sense. It's like something out of the blue, and I agree
Super
with
Mario.
you on that. It felt disjointed. It felt like the magic system is just wrong for that end bit.
I think it would be okay if she threw in little snippets every once in a while that you might have even missed as you were going, but you would sort of remember by the time you got to that magic battle where, like, I don't know, she was upset at all these people making fun of Deirdre, and in a snap instant, something like a book fell off a shelf onto the person. Like, if something would indicate that something like that could even happen, then I think I would buy it and I would be completely okay with it. And
Or if she was able to make like an illusion in a mirror or something and somebody
Yeah.
saw that and then did a double take and it wasn't there anymore. So it's like as if they're seeing ghosts or as if they're seeing some kind of illusion. Give the sense earlier in the book that illusion magic is real other than the mom being able to cast it.
Right.
Because all that they've ever talked about with the illusion magic is the mom versus the child or the children of the illusion magic happened. And it was only during the description of the first battle where the twins or her, depending on how you want to read it, where they were going against the mom, and as they were like the mom was throwing illusions at them, right? And then they got hit by a car. That's the only reference to illusionary magic in this entire book.
and that part was confusing.
And
It was
that
super
part was
confusing. And
as
then
confusing as the
also-
final battle. I
Yeah,
would say.
and then also with the ants too, she
freaks out about the earrings.
freaks out and she thinks that they're witches, even though there's nothing that the ants have ever done to indicate. So then, like those types of things, I think it's just a child that's gone through some trauma, and that's her rational way of like these women in my lives are not trustworthy. And yeah, it's just like, I don't know, it was just like pretty wild.
I think we've gone through a lot of what we would have wanted to say. Does anybody have any ratings?
I gave this book a 3, but I would probably, if Chris allowed, a 2.5. So I gave it a 3 because he doesn't allow the point things.
I don't like the decimals.
Yeah, so I gave it a 3.
I give it a 2, but if could have a 2.5, I would give it a 2.5. And this is because it's in comparison to books I've already rated as a 3. I liked it slightly less, but I still wouldn't not recommend it to somebody. The ending fell flat to me.
And when you're confined to just 5, like, 1 through 5, it's like you have to give it something.
I should have started out giving higher numbers so that I could give mid-range numbers in a fair way, but I didn't, so 2.
I would say this one's difficult for me because I was a 3 edging on 4 up until the last like 20 pages of the book.
Same.
And then it went and dropped quite a bit because of the last few pages. So I would say this one is, I would say a 2.
I think I would give it a 3. I don't regret reading it, and I think it has a lot of. It gave me stuff to think about. I think that's worth a 3 is a good neutral. I would recommend it to somebody, and it's it's not a long read, so I think it's I think it's worth the last 20 pages or so, that because I feel the same way. I'm like, if those last 20 pages were different, I think I would feel very different about the book. But
I'm going to upgrade mine to a 3. I think you're right. I'm being a little too harsh on those last 20 pages.
That's what I felt too. I really had to think
like,
about it. I'm like, you know what? I think I want to give it some grace, because the rest of it did give me a lot.
Yeah, it was the last bit that really I would warn people about the ending.
Yeah,
if I recommended it to people.
Yeah, I also want to explain too that this was kind of unique. That usually when I rate a book lower, that it's because I can't stand the characters and that they are just annoying to me, but I didn't feel that way. I actually really enjoyed all the characters in this book. They could have been more fleshed out, like some of the like side characters and stuff, but nothing was glaringly annoying to me, which happens even in books that I like really enjoy. If a character is really annoying, I'm like, oh God, it just takes away. But yeah, there was I didn't have that in this book. It wasn't that the characters were annoying. It was great to hear about them. It was just all the thoughts and all the confusion that is the reason why I think I brought it down. It's kind of unique.
I think you guys might have convinced me to change my rating. Because you made a good point of all of the characters were excellent, and even the ones that weren't main characters were pretty well fleshed out. The magic system started out great. It wasn't until the last little section that I was like, well, this ruins the rest of the magic. But it wasn't terrible until then. I think that you're right, with the caveat of it gets a little weird at the end. But the story itself is pretty good. Fine. Okay. 3 it is.
All of us are a 3.
All of us are a 3.
Three across the board.
Okay. All right. Well, this is where we put our book on the shelf. And our next book that we're picking up is The Forgotten Beasts of Eld by Patricia M. Mckillip. And we will be reading up to chapter 7, which is page 123. Thanks for listening. And you can buddy read with us on our GoodReads and Instagram at Dog-Eared Discourse, and view our reading schedule for the rest of the year at dogeardiscourse.com.